for this episode. And we got I got the frequently asked questions. We got dates and times. We are live. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for the pre-show. I'm gonna and then I know Chris is on a tighter time limit, so I'm gonna put this as a potential call-in show, but we will see here. Feel free to join the show.
Gotta go mow my yard. I was gonna mow this morning and be ready for this, and rained hard last night, like lost power.
Oh wow, it's been really sunny here in England, and it's scary, and I don't like this heat.
Well, the problem with Texas June rain like that is it immediately heats back up, and so right now it's like a sauna out there.
All right, he made it. I was like, dude, don't do this to me, Soro. It's like we're sitting here like, let's do the show, and you're like, and then it's like he's a freaking AWOL.
I tried, man. I tried.
Yeah, you try. It's like, all right.
Get sent to the store, and like, I gotta hurry back.
You're good. It's all good. All right, cool. I got that pin. Perfect. Let me pop this into this one, and then I gotta kill AC. Just FYI, because otherwise I'm gonna hate it in the audio later. I'm gonna hate the audio later.
Did you get an RTX card in your graphics in your new PC?
Yeah. And
download NVIDIA Broadcast.
I did. Do I have to use that as the tool, or is that because I already turned that on?
Use that as a tool. You put your mic into that, and then set that as your mic. It will cut out all that fan noise.
Excellent. All right, I'm not gonna mess with that today.
No.
Not while live. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah.
Chili's the podcast expert.
I am not an expert compared to you guys.
Chili is a podcast expert.
But now you can literally do anything in front of it and it won't pick it up.
Anything.
Yeah, what?
Anything.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't hear that at all. But what if you wanted to clap?
So the problem is I clap at the beginning of every video to make sure that my voice and audio are synced up, just in case.
Well, then you can just like pause it on,
Yeah.
That's so funny.
All right, sweet, cool.
I hope he's screwing with us. I hope he's doing this.
Yeah, thanks so much. Like that smash button, guys. So how I thinking, because I'm constantly evolving this, and we're going to get started because I know I only got Chris for a little bit, and he is excited for PSO2 this week. However, Chris, why don't you tell people, and then we'll do the show because I would.
Brian, when PSO2 New Genesis got announced, you had me download PSO2, give it a shot. You and I played together for like 2 hours, and then I continued to play. I think my wife was out of town with work. I continued to play until like midnight, and you played with me in like the morning. So I played for like 15 hours on the first day, and I played like 5 hours the next day, and then I haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
And I was like, good enough. Like, it's all changing. This is all getting thrown in the trash anyway. I'll be able to come back to this if I want it. And then New Genesis, like, they sold me on just the idea. And when I pick up a new IP, I really don't want to be in the position where people with, Destiny 2, No Man's Sky, Anthem, which is a variety of outcomes, Cyberpunk, where people's emotions are in because it's more than just a game. Yeah. It becomes this event. It becomes this life-defining moment where they're setting their whole schedule around it. They're taking days off work. And so I prefer to just leave it as like, okay, you got me far enough. I've agreed to buy it. I'm not going to give you any more of my emotions than that. So I stop watching coverage. I stop watching trailers. It's like, no. As soon as you've gotten me to the point where I'm ready to give you my money, we're done. I'll see you on launch day. Yeah. And I don't go into betas and alphas for the vast majority of new IP. I'll go into a beta or an alpha for, if the next World of Warcraft expansion has a PTR and I can get into that. Absolutely. Because I know I'm going to play either way. If we can play at the media tour for Endwalker, absolutely, because I know I'm going to play either way. But I'm really nervous about that with what to me is a new IP, because if I go in and I love what I see and I misunderstand it or it changes, then now I'm mad. And if I go in and I don't like it, then now they're starting off with like hey, I already don't like you, and they haven't even given me any real day one gameplay yet, and that's not fair to them. So I'm coming in blind here.
Yeah.
I'm here to represent anybody else that's like, oh my gosh, it's the 5th.
Oh, it's
I have to
not
play
the
this
night
game in
New
4
Genesis. What
days.
is this?
And the
So
good thing is it's free, so you
It
don't
is.
have to give them any money.
Yeah.
Time is still
I
a
give you nothing,
resource.
and you give me game.
Time is still a resource.
Time is that's true.
The most expensive resource.
It is.
The
It is. They always say time's something you can't buy,
resource.
but you can buy it.
Yeah.
You have to buy it in order. And wealthy people, like, income is one of the single largest drivers of how long you live. But that's not like extra time in your 20s. That's extra time on the end.
Yeah.
Right? That's extended cut.
Yeah. But director's
It's
cut,
very
as one could say.
That's
It's
the
very expensive.
Those are the most expensive years of your life. All right, you guys ready to podcast?
I'm ready.
Sure.
I got the outline. So essentially, we're going to be doing this. Chris might have to jump out because I know I only have so much of his time. So he's welcome
Longer
to.
than 2 hours.
Typically,
I
no.
hope not.
No, it's usually about
We
an
never
hour.
do. Usually about an hour. However, if like that, the nice thing about the software is like if you need to bounce out, just be like, all right, cool. So, but we are gonna like the goal hopefully is to cover like a lot of the frequently asked questions. So anyway, we got a couple topics. We're gonna hopefully have some fun, guys. Yeah, just like chat said, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's have some fun. All right. I am recording. Sweet, and I got nothing up on the screen. Perfect. And yeah, it's I always get nervous to be like, that was the best show ever. It's only available in the archive. All right. Hello and welcome to Epic Loot Radio. My name is Brian, and in tuning in, we've got a panel of amazing guests from Chris, Chili, and Soro talking about Phantasy Star Online, E3 2021, and so much more. This is going to be a show for the record books. Thanks for tuning in live, and if you're watching this later, be sure to come check out more content over at Work to Game, over at Moogle Go Round, over at Global Cooldown on Twitch. Links are all in the description below. You can also catch Chris live Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. over on Twitch/Work2Game. This is the first time you've been here on Epic Loot Radio, Chris. Welcome to the show. Why don't you say hi to anybody who might not have ever heard of you, if that is all possible?
No. The only reason they'd heard of me is because Brian and I share Work2Game, both on YouTube and on Twitch. He runs a whole slew of other channels, and I have gaming kind of as my personal channel when I want to say something and Brian's not around. I play a ton of MMOs and I play other games too, but I don't typically find that they're as fun to share and talk about as MMOs. I think that a live service model really gives itself to like being part of a community, even when it's like single player content, even when it's things like story and things like that. As soon as you get out the other end, right? Just like being quiet in a movie. Okay, can we talk about this? Because I'm really excited. All
right, Chili, I'm making your second appearance here on Epic Loot Radio. Why don't you go ahead and tell people who you are and where they can find you? I'm
Chili. I'm normally on Moogle Go Around Radio. You can find me over there on twitch.tv says Moogle Go Around Radio. We mostly talk about Fantasy 14, though, of course, with the downtime between now and November, we'll be finding other games to play. I'm probably going to jump into one of the games we're talking about today, but also Ratchet & Clank. But yeah, you can find me over on Moogle Go Around Radio. We do a podcast every 2 weeks.
All right. And Soro, the man, my co-chair pilot over on PSO Radio before we merged it with Epic Loot. What's going on, dude?
Not too much, man. Just staying in there, playing some games, having some fun, getting ready for PSO2. And,
what's your prep schedule? Like, what are you doing to get ready for PSO2?
Playing other games. Just kind of waiting at this point. Like, the beta was a lot of fun. I can't wait. Other than that, just kind of sitting here playing some 14, working on getting all of my tombstone gear and having some fun there.
All right. So, and for me, guys, I'm Brian, Ginger Prime. I collab with Chris over on Work to Game. I haven't actually been playing many games at the moment. I've just been busy with a lot of work stuff. Dipped my toe back into Final Fantasy 11. Excited for PSO2 New Genesis this week. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a pretty awesome week overall to experience. But we're going to just dive in because one of the big parts of this show is going to be kind of covering kind of the New Genesis frequently asked questions. Chris is going to be acting as our everyman. Like, he likes to, like, once he gets sold on a game, he likes to sit here and just say, let me know when it's out and I'll come play it. So we're going to be going through the frequently asked questions and allow him to either expand on and hopefully help answer questions that you guys might have. That's going to be a big part of the show, but we got a couple awesome topics first. We're going to talk about our E3 2021 predictions. E3 is dropping on the 12th, and it's going for, obviously, a week. Lots of stuff, lots of news that everybody's kind of anticipating. We're going to talk about the chances of 14 being announced for Xbox at E3. People keep asking me about that. I figured that'd be a good kind of panel to see what you guys are feeling on that. And then we're going to dive into our new Genesis, what you need to know, and launch week plans, which will probably be our bigger segment of this. This is also might be a call-in show. When I say mine, I put in chat and pinned the link to be able to join the show and ask questions or kind of weigh in on points. We'll look at that in terms of time. So being that I don't know how the show is going to play out itself, because we film these live, you can always join in, or you can weigh in the comments and we can highlight your comments that way if you don't have a good mic. But let's go ahead and dive into our first topic, E3 2021 predictions. I'm going to start with Chili. Chili's in the hot seat. Go ahead. What do you think is going to happen? Anything goes.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the Souls-like Final Fantasy game that's going to be announced this month. It's supposed to be like Demon Souls style game. It's supposedly the rumored title is Final Fantasy Origins, and it's being done by Team Ninja. So, apart from that, I'm excited to see the new Fable game and more Halo Infinite actual content. So,
is it Halo Infinite a game that's been on your radar? Like, is that something you're going to take time
to
play?
Yeah, I'll probably pick up an Xbox for that. That's one of the games that I will get me to buy an Xbox. I could run it on my PC, I could run it on xCloud, but I like to own the hardware when there's a game that I enjoy. It's the reason why I bought Switch for Pokemon. Yeah, PlayStation I just buy because work reasons, and I like the games. But Halo is one of those games that once it comes out, that's when I buy an Xbox.
All right.
So,
yeah. Anything else?
I just want to see what Sony brings to the table, because we know that Microsoft has a lot of big names coming out. So I just want to see what Sony's going to do to counter. There's been rumors about a Game Pass coming to PlayStation. So not Game Pass itself, but Sony's version of Game Pass. So
I was like, I would love Game Pass to come to PlayStation. That'd be great. Because Phil says that, Bethesda games will be on whatever platform has Game Pass. Yeah.
Your phone, PC, and Xbox.
For now, we'll see. Chris, let's go with you, man. Like, what are you looking forward to? What do you hope to see? What are your predictions?
If you add marketing dollars, do you think Halo Infinite has crossed the billion yet? Do you think they are a game that has the B for a non-live service game? And then the fact that they're saying it's going to be free in Game Pass. At one point they were talking about the PvP type, content being somewhat accessible, maybe with gold at one point was, I think, thrown around.
They've announced that it's free. Like,
I am super nervous about the word free being applied to anything that costs a profit-driven company $1 billion, because what that means is microtransactions. Because it has to get paid for. It has to get paid for. And so, like, I would rather them say this is Halo Infinite. This is going to be a 10-year title. The last one has basically lasted that long at this point unintentionally. Let's make it $70 or $80, and then we'll never ask you for money again. That's what I want, because I know that $70 or $80 is nothing compared to how many years I'm going to play it. Them giving it to me for free is and you're going to owe me. I don't want to owe you.
They're only giving you the multiplayer for free.
I'm really nervous about how, like, for any of you that have played recent Call of Duties, I like Call of Duty games, but Call of Duty games, when you log in, is just like ad after ad after ad. It's like, I just want to get to gameplay, and I'm just being marketed at constantly. And that is a game you pay for. So I'm really nervous that Halo is going to be this just wonderful experience that they're like, okay, but we've learned that we can cover 80% of the screen with ads without causing seizures. And so I just don't want that. That's a movie quote for anybody that doesn't know. Other than that, Square Enix, I think there will be Avengers expansions news. There's been rumors of the new Final Fantasy game. I don't like the word Origins being thrown around, especially in a game that they're not building in-house, like the numbered games. There's going to be like another team working on that. And I think Origin is like Ninja. A word where, like, now that's important long-term. And so, like, there's a lot of trust to put in, because somebody new is like, oh, I'll just play Origin. Is that
the thing is that they already technically have They already have a Fantasy Origins. It was on the PS1. It was Fantasy 1 and 2 bundled together.
I don't like that word being thrown around.
Yeah.
I think it's too strong of a word.
I agree.
Origins 3, Origins 16. What the hell, man?
And then for me, it's just a question of as everybody else comes out and makes announcements, what all's going into Game Pass? Because as we get into PSO2 here, like when time is a valuable resource as is, it's a big question of like, are you going to cost me anything? And with Game Pass, it gets really easy for games to be like, no, we're getting paid, but don't you worry about it. Xbox picked up the tab.
What about you, Sora? What do you got?
I don't know. I'm excited to see what Xbox does bring to the table. Personally, I've never owned an Xbox. I just use the apps on the PC. But seeing what comes to Game Pass that I can download to the PC and play there, I'm excited about what Square comes out with. And if you look at the schedule, like I told you last night, Brian, it's on June 13th, the day 2, it's Xbox, then Square immediately after. If they don't make some kind of 14 announcement for Xbox in that time frame, I don't know why it would be one right after the other.
That's
it won't be Endwalker is what it will be. It won't be Endwalker.
No.
It won't be Endwalker, which means there's no,
And then also on the 15th, Bandai Namco coming out and doing something. So hopefully that's a Blue Protocol release date or closed beta date or something. I'm excited to see what happens there.
Yeah, Blue Protocol is looking gorgeous. And the question is then how's it feel? Like I don't see going hands-on. I don't see that game coming to the West until 2022, just based off of how like the world has gone and development has gone. But I could see it launching in Japan first. Now we do know Blue Protocol is going global. Like they've already announced that it supports controllers. And honestly, like everything they've kind of shown off is like, yeah, this game is looking really good. And they even just added a 5th class. So that tells me that they're continually looking at iterating the system, and that's exciting to see. Plus, when I watch a Blue Protocol, what I call live letters, they haven't really labeled them that. It does feel like PSO and Final Fantasy got together and had an anime baby. And like it just feels like, here's a playbook. Let's follow the Yoshi P playbook. Oh, here's Phantasy Star Online 2. It's doing really well. Like, how can we marry these two ideas together to have this like really awesome experience? And so I think Blue Protocol is definitely going to be a MMO on the list. Do you think? Does anybody think Amazon's going to show up at all at E3 this year? They got a big game coming out just down the road.
I mean, maybe
they're not a traditional game studio. I don't expect them to do anything traditional ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
if they do it at E3, it might not be at E3. They might just be like Nintendo, do its own separate thing.
Yeah. As you guys leave the event, hey, we didn't want to pay to get in.
I'm late. You know,
Nintendo's always like, when did you say your event was ending? Oh my gosh, that's so coincidental. Our treehouse starts right then.
Yeah.
I mean, there is on the 14th Verizon and television. Like, what's Verizon bringing to the table?
Finally, the new console I've wanted.
Right. Could Amazon somehow fit themselves into that? Because I don't think I've ever seen Verizon in an E3. Am I wrong?
I mean, I have no idea. Honestly, have been following the Verizon console. The KFC Verizon hybrid console now.
I know, but that just seems like a time slot or a section where it's, here's some of the other stuff coming from other places.
I'd pair that with any kind of cloud gaming announcement. Verizon,
I was going to say it's more cloud gaming.
Yeah, so if anything else, I would venture to bet that if you're going to see Verizon doing anything within gaming, it's going to be cloud-based because of especially with their fiber optic backbone of Fios, which Chris has, and I don't have fiber optic right now, so
it's great.
It's so nice.
If I had the bankroll of Amazon and the promise from Amazon that they're going to let New World play out for a while before pulling the plug, even if it struggles out of the gate, I would not want opening weekend to be any bigger than it has to be. I wouldn't hype it. MMOs are feature light at the beginning. They're known to have server issues. They're known just as a genre. The strength of these long-running genres are typically in games that have had some age to them. even games that had good launches, typically age is what gives them resilience. And so if somebody at Amazon says, we're giving you 5 years of money regardless, then there is no reason to rush people into year one where they might have a bad experience and not come back. So let the hardcore early adopters hop in, and then let the game flesh out based on that feedback as you pick up bugs, and then have huge marketing campaigns going into that first expansion or whatever their model ends up shaping up to be, and say like, oh, we meant to tell you this was really good, and we definitely didn't wait to tell you in case it wasn't. And so I would picture New World at this point. I think it's got enough hype behind it. I wouldn't put any more wind in those sails.
That's a really good point. I completely agree. These games, because no matter what, let's say it's hyped, it's going to have that roller coaster. Oh, it's the new thing. People are checking it out. Oh, I'm going back to 14 or WoW, or I'm going back to my comfort established zone, because you have End of Dragons, you have Endwalker, you've got New Genesis. Like they're coming out in a sea of like, you're established, you already sunk in cost. I'm already invested in X, Y, and Z game. And yeah, so it's like at the end of the day, like just play fundamentals. Like if you were going to look at the 14 model, that's what Yoshi P is doing, and why a lot of WoW players are finally starting to check it out. Even big creators that we've even covered this week, is that Final Fantasy 14 has been playing fundamental baseball at its core. It just does the little things right. It builds up to the bigger things and even has these large things. And thus you look at that and the fact that they have content coming out and expansion coming out this year. And more. And we could sit here and like be frustrated because maybe a feature that we wanted got cut, Ultimate, for example, but they've been playing that. I think in terms of like my predictions overall, what I really want to see is I want to see what ESO's premium subscription, is that going to be included as a part of Game Pass Ultimate? That to me is kind of this litmus test of what the Game Pass system is, because if Microsoft has a premium subscription-based game that says you can be actually a part of Game Pass to cover your subscription to ESO, that really says like we are not messing around. Game Pass is where we want everybody. You can individually sub to this if you choose to, because it's still an optional sub for ESO, but with an expansion launching this year, this is a Microsoft MMO now. With Bethesda and them kind of highlighting those two things, that's massive. Now, Chili, you brought up PlayStation, and I don't see PlayStation making any announcements, of course.
No, they're not. They've got no big announcements yet. So I'm guessing the State of Play will come out, because I don't think they're even at E3, are they? It looks like I haven't seen any
E3 like 2 years ago. Right, they pulled out E3 a while ago. So
yeah, I'm guessing
the year
State
before
of Play,
they pulled out, they still didn't show up. So
yeah,
they played a trailer for non first party games and then said like
they paid for a slot and then went, and now we're good.
That was the one where we had the guy.
We called that like when we were covering E3 like as a part of the channel. Like we called that. We're like, that was a horrible presentation, and the Sony fanboys came out like
it was horrible.
Like, that was the best, and it's like, are you blind? Like because I'm like, I want Sony to win just as much as I want anybody to win. That was garbage. And then it's like, I think it's like they couldn't process it, and then eventually they're like, yeah, that conference wasn't good, And then
I love Sony, but right now I want Microsoft to win because Sony's winning too much. Sony
they had delays.
Actual like sales wise.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. They they're selling off of like their brand, right? Like you trust that like you're going to get God of War when it's ready, and so their delays like that was news this week. That's great. Sony's doing what Sony does. They're going to make their games amazing, and I think that's a great experience. It just sucks because what else, like especially with nothing at E3, like are they going to do a state of play like once kind of all the E3 news has been processed and gamers are like, oh, that was fun, and then Sony comes out and says, okay, now it's our turn. Here's what you can.
Well, they do have some third-party exclusives. Like we know that if Final Fantasy Origin, if it's called Origins or whatever it's called, does get announced, that's PS5 exclusive.
Mm-hmm. So Forspoken, at least it's timed exclusive.
16.
Mm-hmm. 16.
The next 7 patch or the next Final Fantasy 7.
The DLC.
Yep.
UV. Also part 2 probably.
So what does Square announce at Microsoft stage this year? They usually have a presence. And anybody think they're going to show up and announce a new Tomb Raider or something? Because they're bigger than just Final Fantasy, but yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Last year they made a big thing out of Tomb Raider because it was like some even number of years or something. So last year was like a big Tomb Raider collection type moment. If I remember correctly, time is weird. So yeah, they could come out and do that. They also have, like, is Kingdom Hearts coming off anything that would make sense?
They've got a load of Kingdom Hearts games to be announced this year. I think they've got like 3 titles. So
insignificant
DLC for Outriders.
That's not actually.
That's what they did with Avengers.
Yeah. Like Avengers getting an expansion. We feel like Outriders is going to go off the expansion model. Really well received. Obviously, bugs and issues, but this gives them another opportunity to be like, here's the next round of content updates, which has never been communicated. They never made a promise that this is a lot. Like they've constantly said
stars
not
on the
a
Microsoft Store.
2 the Outriders.
Yeah. And I told a buddy that it would be a good fit for him because he likes certain types of games and he's looking for a new game and he has Game Pass. And I was like, you should try Outriders. It's free. If you don't like it, then bail. Kind of just get started, just hop in. And he said, it's only got 2 stars. I said, it had a terrible launch. And he's like how bad? And I was like 2 stars bad. And then he opened up the reviews and it was, won't start, won't boot, can't get the game to install. I was like, yep. And it's going to take a long time to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of negative reviews to outweigh.
Yeah, I love the game. I really enjoy the gameplay. And the thing is that because it's not a live service model, like you beat it, and then you're like, that was awesome. Let me know when the next round of content is, which actually could be very healthy for that game because you're not trying to be something and compete with people who've been in the space for 10 years. Like you can't do less than what Destiny does, whether you like Destiny or not, and expect people to be like, that's great. They're just going to go back and play Destiny because Destiny's going to have an update. And they did. They had their new season update. People go back and do that because content is king. So I don't know. Like, I think that kind of takes us into our second topic because when we talk about Final Fantasy 14, I was hoping that we would see something about Endwalker on Xbox at the FanFest. But Yoshi P says, in multiple quotes, there's no reason that there's no blocks on Xbox, Microsoft side to keep the game off. Phil Spencer has done a lot of work. There's still a lot like online, even in the video, like even in the comments for people who don't watch this video itself. We'll see people saying like, "Oh, it's Xbox Gold. That's why it's no." It's like there is no reason. There's nothing.
I mean, it used to be Xbox Gold until they changed the free to play. Free to play games are allowed on now, so that means sub games are also fall under that rule.
And even back on the Xbox 360, that was always the case as well with Final Fantasy 11. But what I mean by that is that there's still always this misinformation because somebody is like, the last I checked on it back in 2013 was Microsoft wanted it on their own servers. Yeah, back in 2013 they did, but they have thankfully changed. A lot has changed, and so. What Yoshi P has been last stated is that they're not talking about other platforms until after the launch of the PS5. And the PS5 launched on the 25th. That is their full version, no longer in beta. And so the question is to the panel here is what are the odds that we are going to see Final Fantasy 14 announced for Xbox at E3? And I'm going to save my thoughts to the end. I'm going to start with Chris. You're up.
It's the last logical opportunity to do it prior to launch because pre-orders have already started. It was not listed among the pre-order platforms. If it is not announced now, I don't see how it is not next FanFest at the earliest. I do not see how we don't immediately kick this out to where we are beginning the hype train. And probably even then, the only reason I would say it's the first FanFest of 3 is because that's the North American FanFest. And that's where you're going to get the biggest swing for Xbox players. Otherwise, you'd save it till the end when you announce your pre-order date and you do it at the Japanese FanFest, but that's going to fall on deaf ears in that audience because Xbox doesn't really have the same hold in that market. And Phil Spencer said, we don't have the games that are played in that market. They don't buy our console. Like that's a chicken and an egg conversation. And so he's inviting JRPGs onto Xbox, even if they don't have immense success out of the gate, because he knows like you have to build this stuff if you want to be a platform for more types of gamers. And so I think if it is not announced here, it will be pushed out and we're not looking at this expansion. And the sad part of that is that at this point, Phil Spencer had a number of things he expected from Yoshi P. All of those have either been removed as requirements or have been solved. Yoshi P had a number of requirements from Phil and has come out himself and said all of those have either been removed as requirements or solved. They've even thanked each other publicly. They've had nothing but nice things to say. Both of them have said they want it. And Final Fantasy has said that they are now trying to get to 30 million players having played the game, and they're at 22. That's 8 million players. Oceanic servers is a big swing at that, but not nearly compared to picking up Xbox. You want to knock out 8 million players, Xbox. We hit 30 million right after Endwalker launch. Like, that's how that happens. So I hope it happens, but like I'm setting my expectations at it's a coincidence that they're back-to-back stages. I'd love to be wrong.
Chili, I want to go to you. What do you think?
I will not comment either way. I'm not commenting on this.
I don't know what that means. All right, Zoro, you're up.
Like I said before,
Chili, no, he is Yoshi P, by the way. But go ahead.
Like I said before, I don't know if it's a coincidence that they're back to back, stages and everything for E3. If that has anything to do with it, I just saw it last night and messaged you, Brian. It was like, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but it could be a possibility. My expectation for it is still like way down here, but for that kind of thing to happen, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Now, Michael says, I think the only thing blocking Xbox is the SC developer resources, and that won't happen until after this cycle. And so what that means is that when they make a new version of Final Fantasy, so the Mac version, the PlayStation 4 version, the PlayStation 4 Pro version, the PS5 version, PC version, all of these versions require like resources, not, digital resources, not imaginary resources, physical people, HR resources to be able to make sure that they're doing all of this work, especially when it comes to console. And I think that's a real key difference maker when it comes to Final Fantasy 14. We're seeing a huge influx with the hype for Endwalker, a lot of new players coming in. And then obviously with WoW not showing up and not making content right now, you're seeing a lot of frustration from that community, and having big creators draw interest in that over it, is huge. So like, does 14 need the Xbox to hit 30 million? No, not at all. But if they want to hit that number fast, I think that's overall good. And based off of what Yoshi P has said publicly numerous times, that he wants the game on Xbox. He wants the game everywhere. And I think that would ultimately be exciting. I have to temper. I want to go to Chris here in a second, but I have to temper. I'm putting my thought and every thought that pops into my head that it could happen in the no column. Just so if it does, you could see a grown man cry after like 8 years. How long has it been? How long have I waited for this day? I want it. I want it so bad.
Open wide the sails.
What's up? What do you say?
Open wide the sails.
Open wide the sails.
Get all the kids out of the house.
I also want my million from Chris, if it has a connection with Game Pass. So I haven't paid him yet because we were like, I was like, what's it going to be here? So like, if nothing happens at E3, I'm going to hand him his million gil, because I don't see from E3 a logical point, because
bet on sadness.
Well, like the logic there is that if I'm wrong, I win. Like, you win either way. That 14's coming to Xbox, yay! Or 14's not coming to Xbox. I get a million gil. Like, I can weep over this, etc. So I think that's where I'm putting it in that category. A lot of people have been asking me that question, and so I want to I figure that'd be kind of a good panel discussion. Chili not commenting on this at all has me. That gives me a little hope for some weird reason. So I'm just gonna
we all know I've heard stuff in the past, and well, the problem is if I hear stuff and talk about it, it can be also wrong.
Yeah,
because I might hear stuff that's 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were talking about it, it could have been true, but things change. Things could have changed today.
Sony in and of itself is getting buddy up with PlayStation. And it's Sony, of course, is with PlayStation.
Yeah, huge fans.
Huge fans of it.
Sony loves PlayStation.
Did they buy them? What?
Yeah, on that note, I'm a huge fan of Work to Game. Just saying it. Just going to put it out there on the platform right now here on Ginger Prime. But like they've been getting, so that's a huge possibility, because And all of a sudden, Microsoft makes these moves, like with Outriders, starts clawing away at Sony sales, which it does. That's the thing a lot of people aren't factoring in, is that Outriders and Game Pass cost Sony 30% of every potential sale that says, oh, now I'm going to go over here. Yeah. They're not going to get that cut anymore. So it's like, okay, like that's some like the MLB The Show. Oh, you can play that on Xbox now for free, and you got to pay $70 over on PlayStation. We'll just claw that back over here. Like, yeah, they're getting the Game Pass stuff, but it's still like this narrative, and it'll be interesting to see because, yeah, it could be announced, but things change, and until it's announced, like I'm just sitting here going like, but with like what Chris said, if it's not now, I'm not expecting it till the next Fan Fest. I would be blown away if they're like, it's 6.3 and it's now on Xbox. Be like, what?
Yep.
I mean,
it's our new limited platform.
Yeah. I mean, technically, out of any of them, it could be 6.0 or 6.1 because 6.1 is a new story.
It's true.
Yoshi's tried very hard to squelch that narrative that it's a new game and it's a new start for new players. He wants to view this as a finale. Please watch the whole show. Please don't just jump in at 6.1. That's been what he's been talking. I don't know if that will pivot, right? I don't know if he's just saying like, hey, don't skip it before it comes out. Right. So I don't know if that'll change. I will say my concern with the timeline here is if Xbox does not come out for Endwalker, the next expansion will have been, when we start to talk about this, the PS3 was supported for 4 years after the PS4 platform was confirmed. If we assume that timeline stays true, then 4 years after the PS5 platform dropped, which is now, we're looking at possibly dropping PS4 due to the fact that the hardware will have just aged out. And if we do that, if that ends up being the timeline that Xbox comes on, there is a version of the world where people go, they dropped PS4 to make room for Xbox. That won't be what happened, but that will be the optics, and it won't look good. It will look like they took my version away to invite these people who have never played, which is not at all how it will actually have been decided internally. But like to get in front of that, it's a whole lot better if Xbox joins the family now.
Yeah, and I can kind of see where Chili's coming from with 6.1, especially with them opening the Oceanic Data Center in 6.1.
Yeah.
So I could see them waiting for that to say, hey, Xbox coming 6.1.
Logical.
But you got to announce it now. Like what? That's not a holiday announcement.
Yeah, I can see them.
Why don't you beat this game from start to finish before you can join in? It literally ended without you.
Yeah, like if they do announce it at this E3, I could see them announcing it for 6.1. I agree with Chili on that.
Yeah.
Again, just because of the Oceanic Data Center opening up 6.1.
Honestly, new players have like 300 hours of story. Start now. Like it's going to take you till 6.1.
Yeah, and then you can always transfer.
You're fine.
Yeah, very true.
How are they going to handle Oceanic? So to pivot slightly with Oceanic,
please go.
How do they handle this? So do we migrate existing servers off of EU and JP? Do we spin up all new ones? And if we spin up new servers, this will be the first time we've spun up new servers since Ishgard Restoration. Which crafter gets to be the statue? Is the Ishgard Restoration already complete, or does it start over? Do they get the same number of housing wards, and are those time gated, or is it first come first serve when it opens up and it's just chaos? Because 6.1 is also going to release Ishgard housing, and so like that's a lot at once to go live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the housing will probably be delayed because they never really launch it straight away. So I'm going to guess with random with Ishgard Foundation. I don't know, because it's going to be new servers. It's not going to be the same ones. Because that'd be weird if they split the servers up even more, because the EU sent it, because it's probably going to be EU, right? They'll be affected more than North America. So it'd be a bit weird if they
free migrations for anybody that feels that they're affected adversely, or like they wish they were included, or they got included and they didn't want to be. So there'll be free transfers.
Yeah, but that means some of those will lose. I don't think so. No, I think it's going to be new servers.
I think that's most logical, but it immediately made me wonder what happens to Ishgard Restoration.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Because that's
RNG they roll a dice and whoever gets it gets the crafting logo.
They come out with exactly 8, so it's one of each.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Culinarian on all of them.
I mean, that's the only good one.
It's not what Sargatanis rolled.
No.
No, we got alchemy in ours. It just looks like a nuclear missile. I don't like it.
You wanted a large frying pan?
Yeah, I wanted a large frying pan.
These are pivotal things. I couldn't even find the statue the other day. It took me a second.
Get that large flying pan. Flying pan.
Yeah, flying pan.
Perfect.
Welcome to the channel.
Cool. I just wondered while I had people here that might
The
have
other side of it is that
like
JP also has 3 data centers, like they, within their environment. So like if they do siphon, the question is that, maybe I guess I would have to look at the volume, because maybe they're like, okay, because with data center visit, I don't think it's really that pivotal.
Well,
it doesn't, like, it's not going to split people up as like the world visit did, like when Shadowbringers
because
launched.
you lose your free company and or your house.
Mm-hmm.
But
Nothing else matters.
I can see them spinning up the new servers. Not only that, or because it would just make sense, but because if they just siphon off of the already existing servers, JP, EU, NA, you're still going to have that ping.
Yeah.
Getting to those servers, unless they put some kind of jump point in the Oceania Center.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If they don't put some kind of through point, you're just going to continue to have that ridiculous ping. And that's not going to help anybody.
I don't think you're going to see.
I just realized, why are we talking about this?
Have a link down below for how to remove ping.
Oh, I use it too, but I'm just saying, like.
I just remember, why are we even talking about this as an idea? Because didn't they show off the fact that they built new servers at FanFest?
Oh.
I believe they did. It just, my question was, are they migrating existing servers over there? I don't think they are. And then as a result, right? So that's the premise. I don't think they are. And then you guys agree with that. So that means new servers. So then my question becomes, what do we do about housing and Ishgard restoration?
Well,
because when
they
we
said the
spun up
house
new
is
data centers
6.1.
now,
they said house is 6.1, but they didn't say if it's exactly 6.1. It could be 6.15.
Those servers becoming online for
Yeah,
Endwalker and Ishgard restoration has been completed on the existing servers. How
yeah.
nuts would it be if they let you do Ishgard restoration in the Oceanic region? Like, hey, if you want to relive that, we're going to do that again.
can I go?
No, I don't.
Data center visit.
No.
Chili's already done 95 hours of it. For those of us that haven't, 95 hours of every day of every race. You've done thousands of hours. Do you have your pterodactyl?
No, I don't. I need to get it someday. Yeah, I only did fishing. I did 15 to 18 hours a day of fishing for 9 days.
That's rough.
I even streamed the last 20 hours, just constant.
My goodness. All
Thank
right.
God for macros.
Makes my head hurt.
Oh man, dude. Anyway, tip of the hat for that. All right, so at this point, we're going to be jumping into kind of our big new Genesis topic. What do you need to know about Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis? That is such a mouthful. Did anybody see the Conan thing?
I saw part of it. Like I watched the beginning part of it, but other than that, I didn't.
Is he
watch
playing
it.
New Genesis?
They, as a part of their whole skit stuff, so they're basically were just making fun of the name, and then you have somebody who knows about the game or at least has all the marketing points about it, just kind of like making sure that that's being communicated, and then they just make jokes. Honestly, I thought it was very fun. I enjoyed the sense of humor of it overall, but that's gonna anyway. I just was kind of curious.
I was in a chat the other day where somebody said NGS, and somebody goes, "I'm really excited about Phantasy Star," and somebody goes, "What's NGS?" And I said, "Phantasy Star," and they go, "How does NGS stand for Phantasy Star?"
Oh my god! Yeah.
We'll get you there.
You talk about Clueless Gamer. Yes, he's done that before. Yeah,
the Clueless Gamer, and they have kind of a group and thing like that. So they've been doing. It's been interesting to see what I would say old media shift into kind of starting adopting more kind of new media practices and things like that. So it's been exciting. But we're here. We've come to the part of the video. If you guys are just checking this out as a highlight, be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, share, clip if you have that feature turned on. And if you guys are watching with us live, feel free to let us know if you have any questions. Chris is actually going to be filling the role of the everyman. When he plays video games, especially when he gets sold on them, he doesn't need any more additional information. New Genesis is launching this week on the 9th. That's June 9th. And so we figured it'd be a good time to catch everybody up on frequently asked questions. This post will actually be over on Reddit. I'll include a link in the description if you guys want to go read these for yourself. But hopefully the idea is that we're going to go through this, and then Chris or anybody else here can either elaborate or ask any additional questions, and hope that to have like this as a real honest conversation about what is New Genesis. I've seen that happen over and over and over again. And it's fascinating as somebody who's been following it, going like, oh man, I have such exciting news. Do you need to install both games? No. Are they the same game? Yes, they are. Like, it's like there's so much really cool stuff to kind of dive into. So with that, I'm going to start going through. We'll just kind of break it up by section. And then at any point, you guys just jump in if you have an additional follow-up question or you want to discuss any particular point. So what can I bring with me from PSO2 to New Genesis? And I'm just going to just call this New Genesis as opposed to saying the whole thing. Future, it's just too much. Anyway, weapons, units, aka armor, and mags, they will transfer to New Genesis, but they're going to behave differently. Your weapon stats, augments, and potentials will change. This is how you upgrade, get your power. This is essentially things that you unlock. Chris, think traits on your weapons. Think, different.
So am I going to be behind?
So
No.
I was behind when I joined you in 2.0.
Yes and no. Anybody can come from, let's say you had a 15-star in the current PSO2. That's going to translate to like a 4-star weapon. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit more powerful, but you're not coming in, and I'm not like, it's to me to get a 4-star. That's, you could go do a little bit of work, but you're not essentially like, oh, you're 5 item levels higher than me. Well, that's awesome. It's kind of a thank you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, my concern was that like you're beating the first raid and I'm still leveling, and it's like, oh, well.
No, everybody starts out at level 1, but if you have a couple weapons or armors or something like that that can transfer over, that will transfer.
But I'm going to pass that with quest gear or whatever the equivalent is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to have thanks for playing the original. Here's a little boost for you.
That doesn't bother me. Just like best in slot will carry you a decent ways into Endwalker, but like brand new players that are just hitting cap right now, I'm like, just get to 500 and wait. Like it's not that much. Like the 500 to 530 gap, depending on how overwhelmed that person is a huge jump for what's going to really not last that long.
Right. I mean, just pick up cheap crafting gear at that point, though. 520 crafting gear.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
cheap to you.
You've got 6 months
to a new player.
You got 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. You can make some follow gaming kinda for guild tips and to be able to make some of that, and it will be cheap. He'll teach you how to make 40 million by the time Endwalker hits or whatever your mouth calculation on that is, Chris.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Units will become armor that is not visible. Even units that have been obtained in PSO2 will become invisible in New Genesis. So much like weapon stats and augments, their potentials, their values will change. So you can carry it forward, but it's going to act differently in the new game. Mags are going to become more cosmetic. They're going to keep their evolutionary device data, but they're not going to be providing stats or combat benefits. One of the things go ahead, Chris. When he makes that
armor is invisible, are all the veteran players going to be running around naked?
No. So your armor is different than what you would say your glamour is.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I do like though is the evolution device is keeping their look because
what are mags?
So mags are the little trash can robots that like in the PSO2. I call them trash cans because you feed them gear and you feed them items that you don't want, and that would level them up. And so they would follow you around, and then in PSO2 and PSO they gave you benefits like stat benefits, like they were maybe in this case they are not giving you those kind of benefits, but they do have an in-game benefit in terms of how they help you function in the world. Think, hey, look over in this direction, something's going on over here, things like that to help communicate to you in the
or like
UI.
the Ghost in Destiny 2.
Yeah, in a way. Well, Destiny is Phantasy Star. Like
we've had that conversation before.
Okay.
But I do like that because like one of my mags is skinned as Odin from 14, and the other one is skinned as a Sega Genesis.
And that encourages me to go jump back across the portal into the Legacy world and go grind this stuff.
If that's something you want.
If that's something you want, yeah.
Sweet.
You do not have to have both games installed. Like it's the same game.
Yeah, I just jump through a portal, like World Visitor, Data Center, Time Walking, or whatever.
If you have it installed, you can literally like PSO2 base is like 70 plus gigs. PSO New Genesis is like 30. If you install both, it's 100 gigs. You can literally say as a part of the installer, I only really want to live here, or I you get the choice.
Every game's 100 gigs now. Okay.
Every game's 100 gigs. It is worth noting that weapons and units transferred from PSO2 may not be immediately usable until your character reaches a certain level requirement. So if your 4-star weapon requires you to be at level 20 to use, well, you're just going to have to grind out to level 20. So even veterans might have that leveling experience. They just might have a little boost once they do hit cap. The following items have been confirmed to not transfer to New Genesis: skill rings, consumables. That's anything that uses for battle growth or enhancements. Your boost items, boosters and tri-boosters, materials, room furnishings, any currencies other than Arcs Cash and Star Gems. So Arcs Cash and Star Gems are your premium currencies. AC is what you buy money for. SG is what the game rewards you with. And there's a way of transferring different things. And then your items, your item pack and inventory itself do not transfer. So if you're thinking of Meseta, if you've been farming Meseta, it's new Meseta in the New Genesis world. So everybody from an economy perspective is starting
New Gil.
New Gil. I know.
New Gil.
Everything has the N in front of it so far. And I was like, oh, go ahead, Chili.
I was going to say, that sounds stupid in a way. They should have come up with a different currency.
They're really banking on not having to do this again.
Yeah. Newest. I do like the fact that boosters don't transfer over, because that means that people that stockpiled before New Genesis aren't just going to be logging into New Genesis and suddenly be like, oh, look, I'm max.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. Anyway, so while your AC and Star Gems can be shared between New Genesis, Meseta funds a currency that was in base PSO2. That's not going to be here. And other currencies greatly affect the balance of the game's economy or not be shared between the two games. And you'll have the new main currency in New Genesis. New Genesis is also going to have separate inventories. So your PSO2 inventory and your PSO2 New Genesis inventory are separate entities. Makes sense. You wouldn't want to be sitting here going like, oh, I got all this stuff I can't use. And your character growth, including class, levels, experience, class skills, photon arts, techniques, and titles will not transfer over. So those things are going to remain in the past, and then you're going to have to grind out from level 1 in New Genesis. But if you go back to PSO2, all your levels are there. So Chris, like you hit level 15 or 20 or whatever you got to, if you like jump back in, all of a sudden you're level 20 on that. Also, it's important to note Chris is playing a summoner. Summoner is actually not coming into the game until 2022. They've been recently announced that. So as it goes, you only are going to have 6 classes, and then this August you'll have a 7th class. This fall you'll have an 8th class, and then like this winter 9th and so on. So they're going to continue to add in the missing classes over the course of the next year and beyond with that. All right.
I do want to touch on that a little bit later, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Brian.
No, let's just touch on it now, because I hate to miss the callback.
Yeah. So the one of the classes that they said in their quote unquote live letter was a gunblade type class. Now they did put a gunblade type class in base PSO2. It's called the Luster, and it's a Scion class. So I'm thinking maybe they're bringing this Scion class in as a base class, or it's going to be the first Scion class in the game or in New Genesis, which would be interesting.
Chris, do you know what a Scion class is?
It's your hunter, fighter, ranger, and everything would be your classes, and then the successor class would be your job.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to have certain requirements to unlock the Scion classes that they essentially were the other ones were just always open and available. The following fashion items will transfer to New Genesis: outerwear, outfit, body parts, arms, legs, weapons, items registered from tickets such as basewear, innerwear, body paint, hairstyle, head parts, accessories, emotes, voice, makeup patterns, stickers, eyebrows, eyelashes, eyes, and face variants. So Chris, if you're looking to unlock varying looks, like the base game still has a lot of value. Like this list right here says, you want to look interesting? We've got so much of this stuff in the base game. You can go and grab it. I believe there are some restrictions in terms of what you can physically equip. So there might be a case by case piece variant or basis. Is that right, Soro? Or am I misreading it?
From past outlines and everything, yes, they did give a list of certain things that were not, or certain cosmetic things that were not available for transfer. But it looks like they're starting to get rid of that. So they're updating it, it looks like, and saying, oh yeah, you're good. Don't worry about it.
So it's not like a
So,
Viera and Hrothgar hat situation?
You're about to answer everything you're saying.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Excellent. So how cosmetics for PSO2 and New Genesis will work and vice versa. I was like, I have the information in my head. I was like, I haven't memorized this outline over on Reddit. All outfits, wearable items, and cast parts from PSO2 will be used in New Genesis and vice versa. However, there will now be 2 different models, physiques, for your character depending on the game and the currently equipped outfit. Wearable items and cast parts or body parts originate from. It was also specifically mentioned that PSO2 body paint will not be usable on New Genesis's physiques, and that New Genesis body paint will not be usable on PSO2 physiques. So there are some restrictions based off of how you model out your character. And if you guys haven't seen, you can go download the benchmark today and actually create your character that you can have ready and to go for New Genesis, and you can play around. And it does have New Genesis physique options and base PSO2 physique options. So you do have the ability to kind of filter that as well. Where my character, I want all New Genesis because I think the models look so much more interesting. Chris, you look like you have a thought there?
No, I mean, I have played WoW since launch, and it will let you mix and match which this is not going to let you mix and match, and that's honestly protecting you. When you put on a vanilla set of shoulder pads and like a Shadowlands cloak, they don't look good together. Like for people that think the game has not matured graphically because they see a screenshot and think it's cartoony, it is very clear that 15 years has allowed them to increase the level of detail they put in there when you put those pieces side by side. So I think that's a really reasonable restriction up front, especially if their goal is for people to share screenshots and stuff, that there's not some weird clipping thing going on or some just lack of resolution when the new stuff might be supported as high as 4K or whatever.
So in addition, finger movement will only be available on the New Genesis physique. So they've added the ability to have fingers and thumbs up and the different emotes like that. Face variants, hairstyles from PSO2 will be usable in New Genesis, although naturally those that come from New Genesis will be higher quality. And then from New Genesis, you'll be able to use those from New Genesis can only be used on the New Genesis physique. This does not apply to pupils, eyebrows, makeup patterns, and some from New Genesis, and these are not going to be usable in the PSO2 face variants. So the pupils, eyebrows, eyelashes, makeup patterns, and PSO2 cannot be used on NGS's face variants. With that, really to kind of help, like if you're kind of like, I don't understand that phrase, go download the benchmark and play around with the characters, and you'll see what they mean by the different variants and physiques, because you can literally filter, just show me the New Genesis stuff, or just show me the base PSO2 stuff. And there is a massive graphic quality upgrade, even though PSO2 is getting upgraded. What's up?
I'll just say there is a massive difference between the two.
I'm excited to see what your weird cowboy mash hat thing looks like in New Genesis.
I think I'm rolling a new character. I think I'm rolling a new character because it's like some of the models look so good. I was like, I've been playing around with just like a female Newman. And I'm like, man, she looks great.
Do you lose all your cosmetics when you do that?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're going to let me like change my base character. And if they they don't, then I'm just going to play a new character. I'm not going to worry about
some sort of Fantasia potion.
I mean, you probably end up having all of your cosmetics and stuff like that. That would be account wide, as you would say. So you should be okay as long as you're logging in with the same account as you use for base PSO2.
Yeah, and that's the same account. So they've already, because like when we play in the beta, you're already on my friends list because we're friends on Xbox. So all that was already handled, even in the beta. So that was actually really good to see.
It was just hard to team up for a little bit there.
You cannot mix layered wear and or cast parts from both games, and all accessories in PSO2 will be usable in New Genesis. New accessories in New Genesis can be used in PSO2, but you're going to have greater customization as a part of New Genesis. So what about the features that you've actually spent real money on, AC and Star Gems, on things like crafting lines and extra collection file slots? Premium set is actually shared between games. So if you're subbed, there's one sub for New Gen, like for PSO2. This also includes material storage, extended storage, character storage, sub palette expansion, and your personal shop. It is specifically mentioned, however, that because of the different game systems, New Genesis's inventory expansion, Skill Tree Edition listed twice, expanded max orders limit, and personal quarters use will not take effect in New Genesis. They will continue to work in base PSO2. basically tells me it's a new game. If you want, I guess, additional inventory space, you're going to have to spend some money. And I'm sure that they might have some kind of bundle. That's how I read that. Does anybody read that differently?
No, I read that about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be something that's included in Game Pass.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's one of the things that I'm really curious to see if Xbox has any announcements at E3 this year with PSO2. Chris?
I don't know the reasoning behind this for this particular game, but having played a lot of MMOs over the year, when people ask for inventory as games get bigger, whether that be Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, it doesn't matter. Every game, inventory becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Inventory is one of those things that continually, like, programmers set it out in a very static fashion when they build a game because they're like, this is plenty. And it is not uncommon for them to have baked it in. World of Warcraft had a 16 slot base backpack for a long time, which wasn't a big deal when you could only really get to like 14 slot bags. But as you got to where you had 20, 24, 32 slot bags and all your other slots, your base backpack felt like it was kind of holding your back. Why can't I just toss that in the trash and replace it with an upgraded bag that I'm happy to pay for or craft? And they said that the problem is that they numbered those inventory slots 1 through 16. And then they used slot 17 for like other stuff and slot 18 for other stuff. So the systems weren't really meant to grow. Final Fantasy runs into the same issue. They build this stuff here and then they build something right next to it. And so it doesn't expand over. So it is not shocking to me to see that inventory expansion is something that they're like, hey, we want to do it differently. So we're just going to like wipe your upgrades from before. You can keep them when you're in old content, but when you're in the new stuff, like we really need inventory to function differently. That doesn't surprise me. I imagine those of you that have spent money on inventory expansion for the base game are not going to feel real good about it. But I'm just telling you from having listened to a lot of developers talk about inventory specifically, it doesn't surprise me as a new player coming in to hear that they couldn't get that to function.
One of the things I like... Go ahead,
okay.
Go ahead, Chili.
I was going to say, shame they can't do something like ESO2 does where you get unlimited space for crafting. Because if you sub to ESO2, you actually get a crafting bag, which actually has unlimited space.
Guild Wars 2 has a material storage that you push everything to. It can store every material that you can find in the game. Base, it's at 250 of that, and then you expand it. Maybe they, do we know that they didn't move to that? Because if they moved to that,
I think they did. I think that is, and I could be misremembering, so don't quote me on that if you're watching this, and we'll see if we get into that more here. But I remember hearing something about that. They also increased the base inventory. Base PSO 2 had a 50 slot at a minimum that starts at 100 slot, which feel like that immediately feels like they're not coming for you money. Because like at a minimum, I was like, if you're gonna do anything to enjoy your PSO2 experience, at least get 100 slots. Because just like with Guild Wars, they shower you with loot. It's a loot game. You want loot, and then all of a sudden you're like, and now I'm spending an hour doing inventory management and whatnot. And it's like, okay, get 100, and you're not gonna be leaving things on the battlefield, and just make sure you're going into each fight with 50 slots available. We'll see if they cover more of that crafting stuff, and if chat ends up knowing, you can always weigh in on that just to make sure that I'm not giving false information. What races will be in PSO2 New Genesis? Numens, humans, castes, Dumans. However, during character creation, you can actually select body type, which are human type 1, male and female, caste type male and female, but you can take parts from the different races and things like that. So like they really have the most impressive character design and build out that you have I think a lot of choice when it comes to your races. You have your pre-built designs, and then you can kind of go nuts, and you want to take apart from the Numans or the Dumans or the Humans and Boobumans, you're good to go on that regards. So these fields are huge. How does traveling in them work? Well, transitioning to new areas is as simple as walking into it, and there's no longer loading screens upon moving to new areas, even when going from the lobby to the field. The Rurikhan devices, I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, exist. I call them the giant green penises, exist throughout the field and act as your fast travel. And if you have your photon dash and your photon glide to navigate the fields faster as well. So just like our aetheryte crystals in 14, Chris, these are just these big old towers that you can go to, and then once you kind of go to them, you unlock them, and then allows you to kind of jump around the map for free. No, it's free. You just go for wherever you want. Yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity, like to charge new Meseta.
How are they removing money from the game? Like, what does money serve as a function if there's no cost to my character? My character doesn't need housing that it has to pay for every month. I don't have a utility bill, and I don't pay for travel. Like, are repairs expensive?
There isn't a repair system, but there is an upgrade system.
The upgrade system will take your Meseta really quick.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let the inflation begin.
Let the inflation begin. So how do enemy spawns work in these massive fields? Explaining this requires the explanation of the sections and the adventure areas, as they're called. So exploration sections of the map are going to have you have more gather materials and ingredients from both the fauna, different just passive enemies out there, monster or cows or like things to farm, and various what they call tame monsters. These monsters appear to spawn randomly in the section, and killing them will give you materials. Aggressive enemies can actually also spawn in these areas, but they're just big. And yeah, that's kind of how they're focused. Now, battle sections are going to have you fight enemies, which consist of dolls and altars, and combat evolves around running towards the target marked within either E for enemy spawn or T trial. And when the emergency trial is taking place, these markers work similarly to how they worked in the Tokyo, Las Vegas area in PSO2, where enemies spawn near the markers. So when you're running around the map, if there's an event, whether it's just a kind of a fate of a bunch of enemies with an E or a bigger boss kind of enemy with a T, that's going to kind of how that functions, and you'll see that pop up. And the goal is just to navigate people to them. Now, exploration sections can consist of like 32 people, like in that specific instance of it, and then the game just kind of handles the self-instancing of these exploration zones. And then the battle sections are going to have where you have 8 people. So like you're not going to run into a group of E and you're going to see 100 people. You'll see no more than 8 people as a part of that specific chapter.
It sounds a bit like Bozja zones in Final Fantasy 14, basically. Bozja/Sandor, where there's a limited amount of people, and then you have 8 people that go to do the trial.
Because you've got 32 in the large zone, and only 8 are allowed inside the critical engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of the same.
32 is not that many.
No, it's not.
That's really intimate.
But it's also weird where if you're in a party with somebody and they instance in with you into that zone, it can actually go over that 32. So you can have like 35 people if you're in a party of 4 people, and you just go into.
Was it like Guild Wars 1 or like Diablo games where like I'm kind of out in the world in these relatively intimate zones, and then the interaction with the rest of the community happens when I'm in hubs?
So PSO2 as a base is very hub and content. This handles all of that behind the scenes. So it's both massive and yet intimate in that regards. So when you transition, the game is just going to automatically kind of balance itself out so that you can have an experience that's designed for that. Because if all of a sudden you're not going to see 100 people in the same area, but then they have bigger bosses that will spawn in the exploration sections that bring in more people and make that event kind of this really big critical engagement style piece of content. And then you can go back into the lobby, but all this happens without loading screens. So the game just kind of handles it. So you never really even notice it happening. You just kind of feel like you're having this intimate experiences. You're playing with other people, whether they're in your party or not in your party. And then you can go back into the lobby and you can interact with like pretty much anyone.
Once I'm in an exploration zone, am I getting jumped into other exploration zones to continue to load balance the server? Like WoW's shard system?
I don't know, actually.
Or am I getting opted over like Guild Wars system where they're asking me to jump over? Or do I have to go back to the hub and go back out like Final Fantasy?
You don't have to return. You don't have to return. Like literally, my experience is the game's just managing it. So instead of maybe even
going to be pros and cons to that, depending on how they're doing it.
Right.
I want to see if the community can you said that. What's the biggest? Is 4 people the biggest group?
Yeah, party size is 4.
Yeah, party size is 4.
Why? Imagine what if the community tries to jump in with 32 groups of 4.
Mm-hmm.
So in World of Warcraft, there was some changes to the way loot mechanics worked, and it resulted in people abusing it in what they call these 4x2 farms. And it basically quintuples or more the amount of loot you get per hour, and it just breaks the game. It's like, oh, you're playing the game and you get 2,000 cloth per hour or whatever, but we could do this as a group and all 8 of us get 50,000 each per hour. Let's just shoot this to the moon here. So if that is possible, that will result in loot mechanics that were not intended, because you would end up with 128 people in the zone. And that's just going to break things. That's going to trigger all sorts of weird spawning and whatever the server answers that with.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like what caused the mass bannings in Fantasy 11 back in the day. someone found out, I can't remember what fight it was now, I think it was one of the end game areas, but you're only supposed to get 1 drop per alliance. But they found out if you disbanded the party just before the boss, it then forced the drop to be in every party.
And everybody's their own party, so everybody gets loot.
So everyone got banned because of this eventually, but they didn't fix it for like 6 months. So people weren't knowing it was an exploit. There was this mass ban wave where people are like, what did I do?
I got kicked from party.
I got banned. Welcome to.
I got banned.
Oh man, that's horrible. So is the game going to be free to play? And New Genesis is keeping the same model that PS2 has. It's a free to play game. The entire game is playable at no cost. Premium items are still available, and a My Shop feature has also been seen. And so essentially, if you're subscribed as a part of their optional subscription, you'll have access to be able to sell on the markets. You can always buy from the markets, but you cannot put items up for sale. So that's going to just be one way that the game manages it. And then they also have, Arcs Cash, which they have loot boxes. They have all different things. The nice thing about the system is that if you get something you don't want from the loot box, you can sell it on the market. If you're subscribed, and somebody who is playing this game just for free can literally buy the content and stuff, with in-game currency. So that's always something I've appreciated about their free-to-play model. So what's going to happen to the original PSO2? That's a really good question. You can actually play in both universes, as Chris talked about earlier. We talked about the start of this. You can actually play them side by side. You can even choose whether you want to have the old PSO2 installed on your system. If hard drive space is a premium, you'll have that ability to say, you know what, I'm good. I don't need that glamour. And then if you're like, oh my gosh, how do you get that? And someone's like, oh, you got to go get that in the base game. Then you can install it and go try to figure that out for yourself. Regarding classes, so what classes are going to be here in New Genesis? Hunter, Fighter, Ranger, Gunner, Force, and Techer. Braver is coming in August, Bouncer this fall, and Summoner is at least spring 2022. So, Chris, you're gonna have to pick a new class when checking out this game. What interests you the most? What do you think? Like, is there an archetype I can point you to?
Well, I mean, I've always enjoyed Hunters and Druids in games personally, but it's because I main Warrior through a series of events now in 14, I found that playing a straightforward melee combat tanky class has made the games very comparable for me. And so as somebody that is trying to play multiple MMOs at once, like, it's easier for my brain to wrap around what makes these games different if I make the class as apples to apples as is possible. Obviously, some games that's easier than others. Like in WoW and 14, I can play almost the same thing, but by the time you introduce Guild Wars, the Holy Trinity kind of falls apart and the whole thing falls out the window. So from that list, like, I assume that I'm looking at Fighter.
Fighter is a lot of fun.
Fighter is a lot of fun. It's more, if you're looking at the golden trifecta, Fighter is more of a DPS, close range. Hunter would be your tank.
Great.
That's usually what I main as well, just because it's no, you don't. Your pet is technically your mag.
All right.
I want to give me a panther. Like we said, more classes are coming later. For the successor Scion classes, it appears that some of the traits have actually made their way to Hunter, Ranger, and Force. Hunter now has a counterattack that they can perform by dodging through an attack, and much like Hero, they can also swing their sword one-handed sometimes, and they can also perform another kind of counterattack when pressing the attack button right after a perfect guard. Ranger not only has gained the counterattack from dodging attacks similar to Hero and Phantom, but they have now a dedicated rifle weapon action and that actually flings you in the direction you choose, kind of like a cross between Phantom's rifle and Ranger's rifle. Force has gained the mobility of Etoile's wand, floating around when they are holding their rod. Like their Barta, it also creates a marker on enemies that can be detonated, similar to the Phantom markers, and their photon blasts shoot giant lasers similar to Etoile's wand's luminous flare photon art. They can also now guard with their rod, much like Etoile's wand as well. Now, our monomates and atomizers are still available. So healing items in this game are actually gathered from flower-looking objects in the field. You heal yourself using the rest of signs, and they can actually stack up to 10 times and are consumed using them from your sub palette. These rest of signs are also gathered from the green flower-looking objects. Reverser signs take place of moon atomizers and are gathered from yellow flowers-looking objects in the field, and they can be stacked up to 5 times. So you're not going out buying monomates and moon atomizers. They're just out in the field. So it just kind of helps encourage gathering and collection of the different items, which I kind of find a little bit strange at first, but at the core of it, it made sense because you're not going to have to keep running back to the city to buy monomates or something like that, which also takes the thing Guild Sync out of the game.
It felt really nice too in the beta.
Yeah, it actually felt really nice in this regards. Story and world. When and where does New Genesis take place? So it's set 1,000 years after the events of PSO2 and the new generation of arcs settled on planet Halpta. Conflict would soon arise as the threats from outer space, the Dolls began. The Dolls is such a I still haven't got over that term, but it just seems like this interesting name. And I'm like, dolls. Like I keep thinking because I have kids, I'm like,
yeah,
they're just falling from the space. Around the time they began appearing, mysterious individuals known as meteor fell from the sky. And despite possessing no memories of their past, these individuals possess skills that make them effective at combating dolls and ultimately join arcs to combat this threat. All right, so let's see here. There's a Visiphone, New Genesis world, names of the field. Yes, we know we're not going to go through the map of the game, so we're going to keep adding.
Big.
It's a massive map. It's massive. So we've talked about this a little bit. Will you actually need to install the client to play New Genesis? You have the ability at the launcher to pick what version of the games you want. So if you want both, it's going to cost you around 700 gigs of memory. If you just want New Genesis, it's 30. If you just want PSO2 base, it's 70. And that's going to be how it functions. Let's get into platform. Go ahead, go ahead, Chili.
I just read that on your screen. For other platforms, such as on PS4, the existing PSO2 stage will be replaced with New Genesis.
Don't even worry about the PS4 version of it. That is JP only.
Japanese we can download it.
Yeah, you can. You can play on the PS4 and on the Japanese server. Yep. Absolutely. So for those who don't know, here in the West, it's Xbox, PC. That's where it's going to be. Steam, Epic Game Store, like it's on all of those. However, it should come to PlayStation. I would believe that it is a timed exclusive, and that we will eventually
probably 2 years.
It would make sense. It's weird that the fact that it is on Xbox and it's not launching in Japan on Xbox. So in Japan, it's not like PS4 and Xbox. But that is a little bit strange.
They probably just don't think there's not enough market in Xbox in Japan.
Oh yeah, I would say that's definitely a fact. It just seems that okay, you already have the work done. It's already done. All right, let's just hit publish on this other platform. The Japanese version, like we said, is going to release on Windows and PlayStation 4. A cloud version is going to be available for Switch and Windows. So if you don't you can play PSO2 on the Switch, which is great, but that's only in Japan.
Nice.
Global version, that's North America, Europe, and anywhere that it is in the list. These are going to release on Windows 10, Steam, Xbox One, Series X. It's also an Epic Game Store. New Genesis is also going to release on any additional platforms, which PSO2 will be made available on. So I wonder if we'll get some new announcements at E3 this year. Now, can your PC run it? It is a beastie game, and I think Chris can run it without any problem. But a lot of people were playing the beta, and they're like, "Holy crap! My PC won't run it." Low quality, obviously, 64-bit operating system, Windows 8.1 or greater, CPU and i5-9400 or equivalent, 8 gigs of RAM. 100 gigs of space for both games. That will run at least 720p. GeForce Now, GTX 950, Radeon, and R9 or equivalent, and DirectX 11. And then if you want to go to high quality, you need an Intel Core i9, 109,900, 16 gigs of RAM, RTX 270 or equivalent and higher. And then will it run on Mac or Linux? I thought this would be a fun, I think, for Chris. As long as MProtect GameGuard acts as PSO2's anti-cheat, no. You're going to have to use the virtual machine of Windows running it, which would not work on the new Macs with the M1 chip. And if you're curious why GameGuard doesn't work on Wine, it relies on the kernel mode driver, which Wine cannot handle currently. So if you're wanting to run this on a Linux or a Mac system, unfortunately, you are out of luck. Hopefully,
Wine's always hit and miss. You don't. Yeah, it's not a perfect 1-to-1.
Chad's asking when is it going to be available to download. I'm gonna venture to bet maintenance kicks off on the 7th. I'm going to venture to bet that it's going to be somewhere between the 7th and the 8th. The game officially is supposedly coming online like at 3 a.m. on the 9th here in the West.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to guess that sometime Monday or Tuesday you'll be able to download the
I can't remember if you caught this, but someone earlier also asked another question. It was from Chuck Post. It was a while ago now. I got in a notepad document just in case. Is it more beneficial to keep your character, or if you start a new one, it won't make that big of a difference? And it was directed to Ginger Prime.
There are account unlocks that you have, and so in my case, I'm planning on actually just rolling a new character unless they let me change my current existing character. And that is just my plan. I'm just like, I'll just make a new character and start over with New Genesis with the new model, because I love how just the designs work. I didn't really care. I was always kind of going for the ugliest looking character I could make in PSO2. And now in this case, it's like, the models are just, they're beautiful, especially the female form in this regards. I was like, daggone, that's like really nice. I'm probably going to play that. So that's what I created as a part of that. So I don't think you're going to see too massive of a difference, because nothing game breaking is going to, not come across. And then at the same time, everything else that I have and care about is account bound. But if you're worried about it, I don't know, like just make a character and kind of make your choice. That's just my thought there.
Like,
are there racial abilities to determine starting area?
No.
So it's purely cosmetic.
Purely cosmetic.
Like 14, it used to have something like your cast would be better at range fighting, so your gun weapons and everything. Your Newman, which are your elves, were better at the magic abilities and things like that, and then your humans were just an all-around kind of thing. It had something in the base game a long time ago. Now it's just kind of like, what do you like? What do you want to look like? Here you go, have fun.
I don't know how I ultimately feel about that. Like, a part of me goes, yeah, it makes sense, because people just want to like play what they want to play and not sit here and be like, oh, sorry, you're not coming as this. Like, you get min-maxed out of an end-game choice. But then at the same time, like, there's something nice about that in my mind, at least from the RPG side of it. And going back and playing Final Fantasy 11, I've always enjoyed that. Yeah, I'm not going to be as effective here, but I'm going to be more effective in these areas. Race has an impact. Race has can have that. And I do kind of, I go back and forth on it, because there's a pro and a con.
They seem to have put that more into the gear, because the gear is more customizable with your abilities and your stats and everything like that in NGS than it was in base PSO2. So you can tailor two different aspects if you want to that way. It's just they took the racial nonsense out of it.
Well,
that's good.
And that's also pointing out that like the race in and of itself can actually use parts from other races, so you can mix and match and blend and kind of create whatever you're like your ultimate character and what you want them to look like, and then you can kind of set their stuff from there. So like they couldn't even make stats work if technically there isn't really a race system. Right. It's just like here's our historical ones, and then essentially you can just kind of build and make it something unique and interesting to you here. So. Yeah, anybody have Chris? You got any final thoughts on what we've kind of covered today?
No, I'm ready to get started.
Yeah. So guys, again, it kicks off. Chris is going to be playing it live on Thursday. That's your plan, right? You're going to play PS2 on Thursday, first half of the day. Then reaction Thursdays.
Reaction Thursdays.
So if you guys also want to see Chris react to Preach's video, I think that's what you got on the docket for Thursday, unless there's another crazy video that pops up.
Yeah. I think my understanding is he watched some fights, maybe Titania or something like that. It's like a 50-minute video, so it'll take me a while to get through.
Yeah, it took you an hour to get through a 17-minute video.
They were jumping the gun on some things.
Chili, where can people find you? What do you got going on?
You can find me over on twitch.tv/MuggleGuy Radio. We play games every day, pretty much. Me and Paul, I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, normally between 8 p.m. and midnight BST. Paul does 6:30 p.m. till about 8 p.m. BST on Saturday, Sunday. And Monday is kind of, we don't know, it depends. But I stream Phantasy 14, but there'll be other games coming on the way. We'll probably stream some PSO2 maybe. I'm looking forward to it. So,
all right. Sora, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitch at Global Cooldown, and getting back into streaming a little bit more. Took a break for a while and starting to come back.
Chris, where can people find you?
Gaming Kinda, work to game. You can spell it however you want. You'll find me either on Twitch or YouTube. The number 2 is over on Twitch. I am live 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. CST, Monday through Friday. Sometimes we run long when Brian can come record with me after for YouTube live. Yeah, it's something different every day of the week. And then Gaming Kinda is just chaos. I've just published whatever makes sense there.
So now that you beat Housing Savage, what are you doing on Mondays?
Yeah,
we're going to be decorating the basement this Monday for the first half of the day, and then leveling the last of my healers.
Nice.
So Astrologian is at 31, so basically not touched at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm starting to work on Astro, and that's the last of my magical casters to get that. Like, it's the lowest of them. And so when it hits 50, I'll be able to toss all magical and healer gear below level 50 forever and ever, which the goal is to clear armory space before Endwalker. So when people are like, well, how come you don't jump into melee and jump into... No. We're going to finish some rolls. If you're having trouble with your armory space in Final Fantasy 14, finish some rolls. Because the moment everything in that roll hits max level, the vast majority of loot for that roll just becomes trash that you'll never need.
All right. And guys...
Brian, do you mind if I... can I have 1 sec? Can I plug a friend quickly?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
Maelstrom Radio is about... Sorry, I will. Maelstrom Radio is about to do their 150th episode tomorrow. It's their 5th anniversary of streaming as well. So I just want to show them some love because, this 5 years of streaming, 150 episodes, it's quite a lot of, it'll be Sunday the 6th of June at 5 p.m. PTD, 8 p.m. EDT and 1 a.m. BST. Because it's 150, I want to do,
absolutely. Dude,
something.
That's amazing. 5 years, 150 episodes. I mean, the passion and content creation community is something that's always exciting to share. So congratulations to them. Thanks for plugging them. Be sure to hit me the link so that way I can make sure I include in the show notes and description of the video so that way people can go find it and check it out. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in live. We're also going to be trying to do more call-in shows as well. So y'all probably seen the pinned comment. So if you're listening to this after the fact and you ever want to tune in live, we typically record these on Fridays. But we're looking at the schedule and we had to kind of call an audible this week. So we're recording this one live on Saturday. So be sure to be subscribed to the channel and also be having notifications on. That way you don't miss when it says, hey, there's a live show. You can see it scheduled. Now these will go into the unlisted category and thus the video will be processed. The MP3 will be there so you can listen to this in audio form wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can always check out the full updated video over on Ginger Gaming Radio as well. And then today's video, we're going to highlight some of these clips over for Work to Game. And that way we'll have those videos roll out over the course of this weekend. So hopefully if you had fun with us live, just have a freaking amazing day. So we'll wrap up the show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been Epic Loot Radio. My name is Brian. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. We hope to see you in our next video, podcast, or live stream. But until then, take care.
Bye.
All right, we did it.
I think that was okay at the end. Sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry. Like, if it annoys me, I cut it.
Okay, fair enough.
The nice thing about it is that all the audio gets recorded into different channels. Now that's all good. Y'all come in on one channel, so that is how it is. Ultimately, if I could become real professional, I'll figure out how to get it to where everybody's audio is separated into its own channel. But no, don't worry about it. Like, I think that's. It should be fun. It should be casual. Like if there was like, here's the rules. Like, I don't know. I don't see myself doing that. I want the shows to feel like just show up, be you.
How long is it going to take me to get to cap? If you had to guess.
Oh, level 20 is the cap.
Yeah, level 20 cap.
Not long at all. Like in fact, you could probably cap on multiples, and that's one of the things I really want at night.
20 hours, 30 hours, 40 hours.
I don't know. Well, just one class?
It took me probably about 3 or 4 hours to get to 15, which was
you were flying. It took me. I actually spent. I got everything to 10, so it took me. I hit 10 on each class, and I just
and then I do all my jobs on one class, right?
Yeah,
like one character.
Yeah, you can do them all on one character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a couple hours just to get to 15 on Hunter, but I was also like hard looking for all of the engagements and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I've only
Do you
got
think they
3
had
hours
boosted
on Thursday
XP
live.
rates during the beta?
You should be able to get to level 10 with your time on Thursday, as long as there's no
Easily.
server issues. And that's the nice thing about the game, though, is that the next level cap happens in winter. So the next level cap expansion takes everything to 35. At that point, though, we'll go from 6 to 8 classes. So it's going up 15 levels. The winter is like kind of a bigger jump, but at the core of it, because especially with New World coming out later this year, Endwalker coming out later this year, like I could get everything to cap at 20, get the new classes to cap at 20, and then play Endwalker. And then, New Genesis updates out. I can jump back in here and get everything to 35. So I could kind of be able to keep up and not feel like, oh my gosh, I got to level each of these classes to 80 or 90 or,
You've been logging into Guild Wars and getting your free living seasons, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm interested in looking at that new MMO by the ex-Blizzard team as well.
Paleo?
That was just announced, right?
Paleo. Yeah.
Doesn't do much for me.
Because it's the non-combat MMO. So
Yep.
What?
Combat optional.
Yeah. There's no there's no real combat in the game.
Combat optional.
Is it just like a living world thing that you just kind of go in and?
It looks like a Second Life, New Genesis crossover, new
interesting
Stardew Valley.
Yeah, Stardew Valley meets like it's what people want Iron Sanctuary to be, basically.
And Chris, how you were asking before if your hunter is going to have a pet. So whenever Summoner does get unlocked, you'll be able to be a Summoner but still use your hunter weapons. So you'll be able to have your pet and then just go and smash something with a sword.
Have your cake and eat it too.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us live. I'm going to hit end broadcast. And I don't know how long it takes to spin, but either way, thanks for being here. We love you and we'll see you next time.